hope they can continue. It's been they've been a fun team to watch. That was quite a series, beating the Maple Leafs in 7 games and wrapping that up last night in Toronto. Well, we appreciate you joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus. We'll be back here at 2 o'clock with Florida Live.
Florida Live starts now.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon live on Fox Local, fox13news.com, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us. Hope you had a good weekend. Want to let you know a little bit of what we have coming up later in the show. We're going to hear about Operation Burn Baby Burn, a drug organization dismantled in Orange County, and the announcement made earlier today by the Orange County Sheriff and the Florida Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, there as well. We'll have more on that coming up in just a little bit. We're also going to track the latest about this 81-year-old in Polk County who was killed in a group home. We do anticipate more details later today. We're going to learn more about that coming up in our Tampa connection. But we begin today with learning some new details about the upcoming opening day of Epic Universe. Let me give you a live look right now. It's the first brand new theme park in more than 2 decades coming to Florida here. And here's a live look. You see the Stardust Racers. You can see some of those portals in the background, in the foreground, I should say, as well. A lot of excitement about this grand opening on Thursday. We now know the park hours and a number of other things that are going on opening day. So to break down everything we need to know about Epic opening day coming up on Thursday, we talk with Theron White, the lead publisher of EYNTK.info.
Yeah, so there's going to be one major change between opening day and every other day at Universal Epic Universe. There will be no early park admission. So normally at the Universal Orlando Resort hotels, you get early park admission into one of the parks. Universal Epic Universe will offer this except opening day. They're giving everybody a fair chance to be able to get into the park and get ready for the opening ceremony at 8 a.m. Now, the park itself is going to open up at 9 a.m., but at 8 a.m. they're going to do an opening ceremony. You can park and take the buses as of 6 a.m., and then they're going to open up some of the turnstiles and the gates at 7 a.m. So for those people that want to be there the first of the first, the earliest you can do is 6 a.m.
What do we expect from this opening ceremony? Do we know anything about it?
No, we don't have a ton of info. They say that these ceremonies are going to be small and that they're going to be at the portal entrances. So my assumption is that they're going to have a bunch of team members at each of the 4 portal worlds inside of the park. So you'll probably get to line up in front of whatever land you want, whether it be Nintendo, Dark Universe, or anything like that. And then you'll be able to kind of see the team members come out, maybe some characters, maybe they'll do some small daytime fireworks, and then you basically get to be the first people let in. They haven't said exactly what it is, but that's going to be my assumption, is they kind of just have a very fancy portal opening for the day.
So if people are going out on Thursday for opening day, what do people need to prepare for?
It's going to be hot. It's going to be busy. I mean, those are things that you can just expect at really any of the theme parks this upcoming summer. But really, when you get there, because they are allowing people to get there at 6 a.m., I'm not going to be surprised if people try to show up early and they'll probably block some of the cars going into it. I have gone in and I've done the grand openings for theme parks before, and I'm going to say this: the park is open until 10 p.m. that night. So, unless you want to be the literal first human being inside of one of those lands, you don't have to get there right at 6 a.m. It's going to be a long day. There's going to be a lot of rides and crowds and a ton of excitement. So you just don't want to burn yourself out to literally be the first human being there at 6 a.m. and then waiting all the way until 9 to really be able to get onto something or to see something. I'll be there probably around 7:30 to try and see that opening ceremony. But just unless you're trying to be the first person, you are going to see a lot of traffic and a lot of issues around there. One of the spots I actually wrote down here, they get pretty busy anytime that there's people going up for parking to Epic Universe. If you go in South Kirkman Road, that's going to be where Stella Nova and Terra Luna are, two of the hotels. So you can put that in your GPS if you want. That might be the better entrance to go into for Universal Epic Universe. Everyone goes up Epic Boulevard, and there's a lot of backup there on almost every day they've done these technical rehearsals. So if you can do South Kirkman Road, go in by Stella Nova and Terra Luna, you might save yourself a little bit of that traffic issues.
Because there are going to be big crowds, obviously, needless to say, on Thursday especially.
Absolutely. And of course, as Universal already said, they're going to open up the parking at 6 a.m. They're going to open up the busing at 6 a.m. So they're getting they're getting everyone there early to make sure. But I mean, it's the grand opening of the newest major theme park in Orlando. It's going to be incredibly busy, not just this day, but for the entirety of summer and as we go on. So just anyone that's going, be there, be excited, and just know it's opening day. Get ready for the hype and all of that stuff. The only recommendation I would say is, again, if you don't want to get there at 6 a.m., 8 a.m. is going to be that opening ceremony. So obviously you want to give yourself some time to go through security, scan your ticket, and get in place for whichever of the portals you'd like to see.
Any other strategies for folks to keep in mind if they are heading out on Thursday?
One thing I think is kind of interesting is because it's going to be hot, and this is something that works for the entire summer. This park does not just have lockers at the front of the park. They actually have lockers at the entrance to each of the portals. So if you're someone that does want to bring suntan lotion and maybe some waters or something else that you think you might need throughout your day, but you don't want to carry it with you the entire time, that's totally fine. They have the lockers at the front of the park. They've got the big family size lockers, but they also have smaller lockers that you can get in front of each of the 4 portals. So you can go and grab that and stick everything at the entrance of Super Nintendo World, go and explore that in the morning. And then as it starts getting hotter in the middle of the day, you can go back to your locker and not have to walk all the way to the front. I did that on the last time that I visited, and it was very, very convenient.
All right. A lot of, that's going to be helpful, especially on, like you said, any day, but especially if you are planning for an open to close day on grand opening.
Yeah, and with all of the parks, it's very, very common that people are going to have issues with getting really hot. Anytime you want to visit these parks, the water is free. Go up to one of the quick service locations, ask for a cup of water. Trust me, Universal would much rather give you a cup of water than have to have someone that's going to have a heat stroke or anything like that. So be careful, be safe, and have a really fun time. We don't know yet what the finale is going to be, if they're going to do big fireworks at night or anything like that. But they have been testing drones. They have been doing spotlights. That could just be for the media preview the day before. But I've got an idea that they're probably going to have a couple extra surprises for opening day, and there's probably going to be celebrities walking around as well. So maybe because of opening day, you won't get to do every single ride because they'll be packed. But keep an eye out. I think you'd be surprised about how many people and how many pop-ups might happen inside the park that day.
What should people prepare for as far as wait times for some of those rides?
So what we've seen right now over the weekend, the Harry Potter Battle at the Ministry attraction left the virtual queue and was a standby line. I'm hoping that it's going to be staying like that forever now because it looks like it's been working better in that instance. In the morning, it is very normal for them to jump to a 300-minute wait, but by the afternoon, they're dropping to like 100 minutes. So I would say because that ride takes so many people in the morning, go out, do something else. It seems like Harry Potter and Nintendo kind of dominate for the wait times in the morning, so it might be a better time to jump over to Dark Universe or How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk or enjoy Celestial Park. When you go in, of course, again, opening day, we're not going to know until we know, but those seem like some of the recommendations to maybe avoid Nintendo because it does get slammed in the morning every day, and Harry Potter has now been slammed with those wait times. On average, it seems like the wait times for the major attractions are sitting anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. But if you keep an eye on the Universal Orlando app, you can usually catch the times that they're lower. They haven't yet done it, but you can go ahead and set for opening day. Once you get into the park, you can actually set a notification on the Universal Orlando app that'll tell you when a ride's wait time drops to a certain amount. So if you know you want to go on something, say in Super Nintendo World, you can say, all right, when it hits 45 minutes or less, go ahead and notify me. And you can actually do that and for any of the rides at Universal Orlando Resort. So that's really nice to get yourself prepped and maybe get ready to run over to that ride you want to do for a shorter wait.
Is there a notify me when Harry Potter hits less than 300-minute wait?
There is, yes. There is one that you can do for that. I saw some people joking, saying they were going to set it to 5 minutes and just pray that one of these times that they just get lucky. But you can. I mean, you can do that. I've seen that. I haven't yet been on that attraction. It's the only major one in the park I haven't done yet. But a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people online have said it is one of, if not the greatest attraction Universal has ever built. I'm excited to do that opening day. Again, I'm going to avoid the first initial crowds, but I'm really, really going to try to get on that because I've heard nothing but amazing things.
Yeah, I mean, 300 minutes, that's 5 hours if you're waiting for that. Yeah. But I will tell you, now that I have been to Epic Universe, if you are going to be waiting in line somewhere for a long time, that's the ride to do it. I mean, that queue space is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I was able to see just the entrance once you go through the Flu network into that grand reveal, and that was incredibly impressive, so I can't imagine how great the ride is.
And so if you are going to opening day of Epic Universe, here's another look at the timeline for that day. 6 a.m. the parking lot opens and the shuttles begin. The turnstiles open at 7, 8 a.m. that grand opening moment, and then the park will be open from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we will be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon live on Fox Local, fox13news.com, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us here today. It is time now for our Tampa Connection, and for that we go to Fox 13 digital content producer Nancy Gay. And Nancy, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me, Garrett. Today we're going to start out in Polk County with a story that we've been following since yesterday. An 81-year-old man was found dead inside an independent group home in Bartow. Now, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, he hasn't provided a whole lot of details, but he is expected to hold a press conference today at 4 o'clock. Now, he did say that this man died a violent death. He added that there were 3 other people living at the home. He said that the victim was last seen Saturday evening and that the victim doesn't normally get up for breakfast, so it was not unusual not to see this man on Sunday morning. Judd said that the victim's body was discovered sometime around noon, and that's when 911 was called. He did say that the man was dead by the time Bartow police arrived to investigate that 911 call. Again, we don't know a whole lot of information, but Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd is expected to have a press conference later on today at 4 o'clock to provide more information about this 81-year-old man's death, which he describes as being very violent. Garrett.
All right, we will watch for that news conference coming up later and also have more on that later on Fox Local. Meanwhile, also tracking an update on a shooting on I-4.
Yes, this shooting happened around 6:30 a.m. on Mother's Day. So that wasn't yesterday, but a week ago yesterday. And the Florida Highway Patrol, they're looking for suspects who are accused of shooting at 2 vehicles on I-4 near US 301. Now, troopers say victims reported that a dark-colored sedan pulled alongside of their forward edge and fired at their vehicle. Now, shortly afterward, troopers said that the suspect drove behind a Chevy Tahoe, which got off at US 301 and opened fire on that vehicle. The Tahoe continued on US 301 until it crashed into a utility pole near Franklin Road. That's when troopers say the people inside the Tahoe got out of their vehicle and started to run away as masked assailants jumped out of the suspect's vehicle and actually chased them. Now, troopers say nobody was hurt from the gunshots, and those people in the Tahoe were able to run away from those masked assailants. But troopers do say that the people who were in that Tahoe did suffer minor injuries when it crashed. The Florida Highway Patrol hasn't given us a whole lot of other details, and they have not provided a description of the suspects, but anyone with any information is asked to call the Florida Highway Patrol. This is the latest in a string of shootings that have taken place on I-4 over the past couple of months. In February, a stray bullet on I-4 came just inches away from a 22-year-old driver's head, and just last month, a man was taking video of motorcyclists who were driving erratically on I-4 near I-275 when one of those motorcyclists pulled out a gun and opened fire on his vehicle. So far, no arrests have been made, and anyone with any information is asked to call law enforcement. Garrett?
All right, hopefully they'll be able to get to the bottom of that fairly quickly. Now to a warning over toxic toads.
Yes, this has been one of our top stories all morning, and anybody who has cats or dogs right now is being asked to check their yard for these toxic toads. Cane toads are an invasive species, and a pet such as a cat or a dog can become sick and die in as little as 15 minutes of coming in contact with these toads. Now, these toads are not venomous, which means they aren't going to strike you and inject you or your animal with anything, but they do have large glands on their shoulders that release thick liquid poison that they release when they feel threatened. Now, the toxin does need to be ingested to see these detrimental effects. Now, these toads are short, squat, and chunky, and they don't have sticky pads on their toes so they don't climb like other frogs. They are usually found in urbanized areas, around houses, and in agricultural areas, but they are often found near water because that's where they like to breed. Now, if you do find them on your property, you are allowed to kill them, and in fact, the FWC wants you to kill them. We spoke to an expert with the Tarpon Springs Aquarium and Animal Sanctuary this morning who said that the most humane way to kill these toads is actually to put them in the freezer. She recommends catching them in a dustpan, putting them in a plastic bag, and then putting them in the freezer so that they freeze to death. Now, just a warning, these toads do look like Florida's native southern toads, which the FWC does not want you to kill. Now, experts say for cane toads, you want to look for a flat head that kind of resembles a shield. That's a clear sign that the animal is a cane toad. And if you think that your cat or dog ate a cane toad or had it in its mouth, it's important to wipe the inside of your pet's mouth with wet rags and make sure to get them to the vet as soon as possible. Garrett?
Yeah, it's scary. You've heard those horror stories of just how quickly that can happen. So certainly something to be on the watch for. Finally, some new scooters coming to St. Pete.
Yes, that's right. The city of St. Petersburg is expected to add about 1,000 new scooters to its fleet. Now, since the scooter share program launched in 2020, St. Petersburg reported that 1 million trips have been taken by scooter. Now, there were some challenges, though, and in 2023, a woman was actually killed by somebody who was riding a scooter on the sidewalk. That is against city regulations. And there was also a second person on that scooter, which again is against regulations. Now, after her death, there were targeted enforcement efforts which helped improve safety. Now, these new scooters are coming from Lime and Spin, and they will have advanced features such as GPS, speed limits that will be capped at 15 miles per hour, geofencing, and area restrictions to enhance safety and compliance. Now, the city is also working to build corrals to help to hold some of these additional scooters. Garrett?
I feel like at some point I've got to learn how to use one of those things. You see them everywhere now.
Yeah, they're definitely everywhere. And one person we spoke with, she said that she works down at the St. Petersburg Pier, and that's how she gets to and from work. She says she doesn't own a car, so this scooter is her primary mode of transportation.
All right. Well, Fox 13 digital content producer Nancy Gay, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon for our Tampa Connection.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon. Breaking news this afternoon is the Supreme Court decided to lift an injunction allowing the Trump administration to end TPS, temporary protected status, for about 350,000 Venezuelans in the United States. Joining me live now to react to this and talk about what comes next is Congressman Darren Soto, who is a Democrat representing Florida's 9th District. And Congressman, we really appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on Florida Live.
Well, thanks for having me, Garrett. It's a sad day for Florida to see the Supreme Court uphold the termination of Venezuela TPS, knowing that we have hundreds of thousands of family members of American citizens here in Florida who will be deported because of this ruling.
Just kind of give me your initial thoughts when this came down. I know this is an issue that you've been working on in Congress and have been outspoken about. Just kind of give me your initial thoughts to hearing this about when the Supreme Court decided this.
Well, I passed a bill out of the House twice that granted temporary protective status to Venezuelans. It passed in a bipartisan fashion, including many Florida Democrats and Republicans voting for it. We eventually saw President Biden granted after an analysis that Venezuela is in chaos. You have a dictator down there murdering their people, and so granting this because of that emergency down there was the humane thing to do. It also helped out our local economy. Now, I saw so many small businesses and large businesses during the pandemic not have enough employees, and so this program, along with the parole program, which also affects Cubans, Haitians, and others, was a big part of improving the workforce for Florida. And so this is not only going to tear apart families, but also hurt Florida's economy.
What do you think needs to happen next?
We have a bipartisan bill with Representative Salazar and Wasserman Schultz that would redesignate Venezuela TPS. So that is a vehicle that could be passed out of the House. It'd be a tough road ahead to get it done. And in the meantime, I would encourage folks who were here on temporary protective status, you're still allowed to file individual claims for asylum. So if you have a potential asylum claim, I would certainly hire an attorney to press that claim. And, I'm worried about tourism and agriculture, service industry and construction, where you have a lot of folks who are immigrants working in those industries, some of our biggest industries. And I'm also worried about small businesses who may not have enough employees. Florida, we're blessed with a low unemployment rate, but it means it's tough to get employees for a lot of businesses, especially in areas that don't pay that much. And so this was helpful for a lot of these businesses that are now going to struggle.
Why is this TPS program so important, specifically for that Venezuelan community, in your opinion?
Because it's a disaster down there. We see a dictator who's murdering his own people. They're starving. Their economy is contracted by multiple magnitudes. And a lot of these folks, they've lived in Florida now 2 to 4 to 6 years or longer. There's a large Venezuelan American population also in Florida. We have the largest diaspora in the nation in our state. So these are family members of American citizens, many of whom now will struggle to be able to remain in the country. And when they're sent back, many of them, they attacked the dictator Maduro, and now they're going to face a risk of persecution, maybe even jail or death when they're sent back. And so it's a real unfortunate situation.
Why do you think the Trump administration is taking this step?
So there's no doubt they've had a crackdown on unlawful immigrants, but these folks were here legally under temporary protective status. They've made a lot of hay on the Tren de Aragua, the gang that has some members in the United States. And if folks are committing crime and they're immigrants, they certainly need to be deported. But this was a small minority of folks. In fact, we see a lot of folks who were tempted to be deported as being part of this alleged gang because they had tattoos, only to find out that most of them had no criminal record or ties to organized crime. And so in the scare to get out some of these bad apples, we see a lot of folks who are otherwise law-abiding, productive members of our society who are here lawfully that now will be deported.
And you touched on this a couple of times in this interview here. But what impact do you think this could have on Florida?
So first, we could see prices rise. We could see services take longer to provide. We could see small businesses that can't find employees, especially your mom and pop restaurants, the local farms, some of the smaller attractions. And it could also affect new home prices and construction because, Florida, for all those industries, a third of our workers are immigrants. So you have Floridians already working, and that's still not enough to do the kind of demand that's out there for our growing state. And our state trends older. So we have a lot of folks who they're here, they're retired, and they require a lot of services. They also have built up a nice nest egg to afford it. And this could raise costs on these folks as well as the businesses that they look to be engaged with.
still pushing ahead with the Venezuela TPS Act?
Yes, absolutely. We just filed it last week, and it's bipartisan. We're going to give it every effort, but it's going to be a tough road ahead, no doubt. And in the meantime, now this will go to individual asylum cases and deportations of folks, and we'll see how that goes.
What is the bottom line here? Specifically, folks maybe who are here under TPS right now and have questions about what this may mean for them. What do you want them to know? What would you say to them?
The bottom line, first, we appreciate you being in Florida and helping make our economy grow. Very key that you get an attorney now. You may have an individual asylum claim, and you need to seek legal counsel for that. But now the 350,000 folks, many of whom are in Florida, who are on Venezuelan TPS now could face deportation. So it's important to know your rights.
And obviously, this fits into many actions of when it comes to immigration by the Trump administration, by Governor DeSantis here in Florida. And just what do you make of the kind of overall landscape of things when it comes to the immigration enforcement and crackdown that you talked about?
Well, everybody wants lawful immigration. And part of the fact that we have folks here who are unlawful is because there hasn't been immigration reform in many years, including for dreamers and for keeping families together and helping out farm workers. And as a result of the failure to have reform, you have a lot of folks who have been working here for many years and who are productive parts of our society who are now facing deportation. Some folks may appreciate these quick deportations, but people will miss these folks when they're gone because a third of so many of our industries are immigrant workers, right? And it's one of the ways we've been able to grow as a state, and we continue to have low unemployment. So Central Floridians, Tampa Bay residents, and folks from across the state are still able to get jobs, and yet that's not enough. And so if you want to start a new small business, you may struggle to get enough workers, right? And so so much so that the Florida legislature's solution was to let kids work longer, which is a red flag for me, that they know that our economy can be in trouble, especially small businesses, as you deport all these workers who are otherwise law-abiding, that they need to have expanded efforts for Florida's kids to work because they know there's going to be workforce shortages, and that limits growth, that raises prices, that hurts our economy.
Congressman Darren Soto, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on Florida Live.
Thanks for having me, Garrett.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. The Attorney General, James Meyer, was in Orange County today, joining the sheriff to announce the results of what they called Operation Burn Baby Burn. They were basically able to dismantle a drug trafficking organization in Orlando, netted 19 suspects now facing charges after that operation that's been going on since September of last year. Sheriff John Mina and Attorney General James Meyer spoke at a news conference earlier today.
Our agency works very hard to take down these drug trafficking organizations that are just infusing deadly drugs into our community. So nothing makes me happier than when we look at these posters and know that our partners at the Attorney General's Office of Statewide Prosecution is going to prosecute these individuals to the fullest extent of the law. And so that means mandatory minimum sentences for most of these folks, ranging from 15 to 25 years. So in September of last year, the Orange County Sheriff's Office and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement began this multi-jurisdictional investigation into this drug trafficking organization that spanned from Orange to Polk to Osceola and to Hillsborough County. And what the two folks at the top were doing is they were importing drugs, fentanyl from California and Mexico, and cocaine from Puerto Rico. So this drug trafficking organization is responsible for importing pounds and pounds of fentanyl and cocaine into our community. And so our narcotics agents worked extremely hard to identify this organization and take them down and make many arrests. So in total, 19 people are charged with trafficking in fentanyl, trafficking in cocaine, also conspiracy to traffic in fentanyl and cocaine. And those charges, again, have mandatory minimum sentences ranging from 15 to 25 years. So they're not going to be around in our community anytime soon. So in all, 6 pounds of fentanyl and 4 pounds of cocaine were seized in this operation. That's a street value of over $1.5 million. So we recovered 9 firearms, and 1 of which was stolen, and $50,000 in cash. So this was a collaborative effort between the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and the statewide prosecutors at the Attorney General's Office. And so you'll hear more about this from others, but this investigative work was made possible through the SAFE program, and that's State Assistance for Fentanyl Eradication. And so that program provides funding and resources, technical support for these investigations. So as you can imagine, drug dealers don't work 9 to 5. They work all hours of the night and weekends. They go to different communities, different counties. They're constantly getting rid of their phones and their cars. So to do an investigation like that, it costs a lot of money. But the benefit of this investigation is that these folks will not be in our community putting these deadly drugs here in Orange County or anywhere else. And they're going to be going away for a long time, 15 to 25 years. And I will say that these investigations save lives. Last year in Orange County, there were nearly 200 overdose deaths, specifically from fentanyl and cocaine. So putting folks like this away will save lives in this community. I couldn't be prouder of the hard work the men and women, the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and our statewide prosecutors. And a lot of this work is not the glamorous stuff you see in TV and movies. It's a lot of waiting around, watching, trying to build this case so that these folks never put drugs into our community again. So I want to thank the Attorney General for his partnership, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the state of Florida for this generous funding that helped with this investigation. And this won't be our last takedown of dangerous criminals in our community. We're going to continue to work these large-scale operations through the SAFE program. And again, if you're dealing drugs here in Orange County or anywhere in the state of Florida, you're going to go away for a long, long time.
None of them, we believe, are here illegally right now. There is one individual that's still pending in this investigation that may be here on some type of a visa, and we're tracking that down.
Can you speak more to the investigative methods you guys use to track down these suspects? Was it controlled by, surveillance? Just what led to these 17 and 19 off the streets?
Everything that you mentioned and then some. So yes, undercover buys, a lot of surveillance, a lot of technical support, a lot of hours. This investigation was about 75 days, 7 days a week, 14 to 16 hours a day for the duration. So a lot of staffing hours, a lot of hard work, and everything that we could throw at it with the assistance of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They kicked in resources, they kicked in staffing, they kicked in technical skill sets and equipment, good collaborative effort, and everything we could throw at it.
There's unfortunately a lot of people dealing drugs on the streets of Florida. What made these guys a priority?
Well, you know, when we received tip information about this group, we vet it. We receive a lot of information from, you know, people within our community about all kinds of illegal activity, and drugs are certainly not unique to that. When we started looking into this, although they transcend Orange County, it became clear that the bulk of their work was within our jurisdiction. The sheriff mentioned some other jurisdictions that they did operate within, but I would venture to say probably 90% of their dealing was within our borders. So what made this near and dear to us at the sheriff's office is that this is directly impacting our citizens and the people that we're here to protect.
Sure. Yeah, I see you got 9 firearms recovered. You said one of them was stolen. Were any of the others perhaps linked to any other crimes that you're aware of?
So anytime we recover firearms, they're run through the NIBIN system, the Ballistics Information Network, and so we'll be able to see if those guns are tied to any other case here in Central Florida, or really, you know, the state of Florida.
Any of these particular individuals have, or any of these individuals have particular history with your office that you're aware of this stuff?
Do you want to answer that, Dina?
Yeah, several of them do have criminal histories. Some of the histories are significant. There's some attempted murders and some aggravated crimes with firearms and stuff like that. So, yeah, there is criminal history for some of them. I can't speak individually to who has it, but I was aware of that throughout the investigation.
You know, it's everywhere. We see it everywhere. And fentanyl is seeping into so many other aspects of organized crime. So you've got fentanyl, you've got human trafficking. We see major connections to retail theft. You know, you've got major ties to other drug efforts. It is the centerpiece of everything. So we're going to do everything we can. I can assure you the governor wants to combat fentanyl to the fullest possible. Any resource, we will spare no expense. When it comes to this crisis, you know, we are all in as a state.
So 19 facing charges. They did seize 6 pounds of fentanyl, 4 pounds of cocaine as well. They said that had a street value of about $1.5 million. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon. Governor Ron DeSantis was in Panama City earlier today. He held a news conference and also held a ceremony to sign the Boater Freedom Act that prevents local bans on gas boats and also random safety inspections without probable cause. The governor spoke for several minutes at that news conference. I want to play a little bit of that for you as he talked about the importance of this act.
All right, let's get it done. Okay, so today is May what? 19th? All right. That's the big one. And this is the add-on. All right. Who wants a pen? You want one, buddy? All right. Anyone else? Okay. And I got one more. All right. Here we go. I want you guys to hold that up for the camera. I'll hold this one up here. You hold it up with me. There we go. All right. Another one in the book, guys. Well, thanks so much. We have been working on this for a while. I'm glad it got across the finish line. And I know a lot of people will be very much appreciative. I do want to take a moment as we get into Memorial Day weekend, as people are going to enjoy the largest Gulf red snapper season since state assumed management in the history of the state, which is in this era. We need to do the same in the Atlantic. I think they had 1 or 2 days last year where you all had 103, or what was it? Some over 100 here. We're going to do much. Yeah, and we're going to do much more than that this time. Don't tell, it's the same thing. The federal bureaucracies, everything, they inhibit access. They have flawed data. We could do the same thing in the Atlantic, just like we've done here in the Gulf. I could tell you everything is thriving. The populations are strong. The anglers are having a great time. It's important for our culture, for tourism. So we can do the same thing over there. So we have put in a request through the Department of Commerce and the NOAA agency. Send us the management of the Atlantic red snapper. We will do it very strongly, just like we've done in the Gulf. And I think a lot of people will be very, very happy. I mean, I can tell you that if we're able to announce that the state has resumed management in the Atlantic, we will be able to move very quickly to get some dates out, and people will be thrilled if that were able to happen. So, and I think it's something that we've gotten good signals from the administration, because they are trying to empower the states. So this is a great opportunity to be able to do that in a way that's going to make a meaningful difference, not just to our residents, but for the people that really love coming and visiting Florida. Okay, we got any questions? Well, I think what the senator said, I mean, when you have somebody who is stopped 3 times in one day without there ever being a basis to stop them, then you know something's wrong. The way we do things in America is government's supposed to leave you alone. If there's something you're doing that gives law enforcement a basis, and it doesn't have to be beyond a reasonable doubt you've committed a serious crime. It could be, reasonable suspicion, probable cause, depending on the circumstances. And I saw Tommy Ford here. These guys all know what they do in regular police practicing. So when you say you could just board a vessel and start searching for no reason, it's not even like people are doing anything wrong and that they're worried that they're going to get discovered, although, you know, they could find something that they didn't have a basis to that would normally not be allowed. But I think it's more just people feel like they're being violated to have someone come in and start rummaging through. It's just not how we do. It's the same thing if someone wanted to come in and just start searching your house without a basis. People just would feel that that's something that's wrong, even if there was no wrongdoing involved in terms of that law enforcement found anything. So I just think it cuts contrary. I don't think that that's how most of our officers have actually behaved. I think a lot of them have been very respectful and very professional. But I also just know, the law being what it was, the prior attempts to get this in a better place weren't really successful. You have had these situations. So I think because of what the senator and Representative Griffiths did, I think this is going to end the issue once and for all. I think we finally have great protections for people, and I think people are going to be very pleased with it. All right. God bless everybody. Take care. We'll see ya.
We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back. All right, live look at Epic Universe ahead of its opening on Thursday. Yeah, this coming Thursday. And we've talked a lot about the excitement for it, but what about the impact of it? We talked earlier with Fox 35's David Martin. He was live this morning outside the theme park and has also talked with experts about what the park could bring to the Orlando economy.
We are now officially inside what the executives are calling Go Week, right? You've got 3 hotels and a massive theme park officially opening in 72 hours. And they all are game changers, not just for the guests who are going to come and enjoy the park, but for all of us living outside the perimeter here in Central Florida. So to get some more perspective on this, we chatted with Jim Inglis, who is a recently retired chairman of Valencia College's Hospitality and Tourism Management Program. Take a look. Florida's tourism industry evolved over the past few decades. How big is this Epic Universe opening for real?
Oh, I think it's going to be absolutely tremendous. The buzz all over the country, all over the world is something else. You know, they're throwing out numbers like it's going to be a $2 billion increase into the Florida economy alone. Wow. And of course, Visit Orlando just announced that we had 75.3 million visitors last year in 2024, and we did 74 million the year before that. So we keep breaking these records year after year after year of attendance here in Orlando, in Central Florida. And I think Epic is only going to increase the demand for our area.
You know, historically, we haven't had a major theme park opening like this since the late 90s with Disney's Animal Kingdom and Universal's Islands of Adventure. How does Epic compare with those two a quarter century ago?
There were some numbers when Animal Kingdom opened up. The first 7 months, they did 5 million visitors. And IOA also did a tremendous amount when they first opened up. And you saw the 4-hour wait just to get into Harry Potter when IOA opened up. And I think Epic is also going to be a huge demand generator for our local economy. All the businesses on iDrive, the hotels, I think it's going to drive occupancy percentages up. I think it's going to drive RevPAR up. I think it's going to be a boom for all the businesses along iDrive, Point Orlando, any of the attractions. I think you're going to see a spinoff from people coming to Epic. And as we know, international travelers stay more days than domestic travelers do. And I think that once they're coming to Epic, they may stay a couple extra days and they may do other attractions and other things in the area.
So, what challenges do you think the hospitality industry as a whole here in Central Florida will face with the opening of Epic?
Well, they're looking for 17,000 jobs, is what they may generate all told. So that is going to be our workforce is already taxed. And we at Valencia are trying to do the best we can to produce the top of the tier culinary, baking and pastry, hospitality students for the area. So is Rosen College. We're all on a mission, but it's good for the convention business. I mean, it's going to be great for convention business. We have the 3rd largest convention center in the country. I think that this is just another selling point for Visit Orlando as to why you need to come to Central Florida.
We're just days away from that grand opening. What do you think the executives are feeling right now?
I think they're very excited. I think the buzz is amazing, and I think when this thing opens up, it's just going to drive the public crazy.
Can we handle the influx of the crowds around here?
I hope so. They just added a couple more lanes on I-4, right?
Well, I guess time will tell, Garrett, about I-4 crowds, but it's going to be crowded for a while, certainly this summer here around the convention center and at the gates of the new Epic Universe. And he told me, Jim, from the Valencia's point of view, that a lot of the graduates at that college go straight into a great career, great jobs at all the theme parks, not just Universal, right? You got Disney and SeaWorld and Fun Spot. So you can basically guarantee yourself a good job if you graduate in the tourism division of the Valencia College. But there's another massive school here in town that puts out a lot of great graduates as well, the University of Central Florida. And that school is full of experts on the staff who've been eyeballing this project for the past half decade, including our friend named Jorge Riederstadt. He is a tourism economics expert at UCF, and I got his perspective on the opening of Epic as well. Take a listen.
So we are talking about a major investment for first. So before the opening already, they had about 7 billion in terms of investment, Comcast and the parent company of Universal and so on. So that's a huge investment already. And for Florida specifically, we're talking about first year, they expect to have a 2 billion economic impact, which is quite a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's more like the economy itself. If we talk about a layer lower, which would be taxes, for example, we're talking about 386 million in state and local taxes. We are talking about property taxes of about 120 million. We are talking also, and that's $500 million of sales tax. So that's a major impulse in terms of taxes as well. The other layer that I want to touch on is the employment. So we're talking about 17,500 direct employment opportunities. For every 1,000 people that you employ directly, there will be indirect effect of 700 additional jobs. So we're talking here about people working in restaurants, transportation, different types of other economic activities that would benefit as well from this major or epic, as you say, theme park.
So overall, how does Epic Universe fit into Orlando's long-term strategy to remain a top global tourist destination?
Consider tourism as a product, and Orlando is part of that product. So you add a theme park to that product, that means that you improve your product. So people have more options to go and more reasons to visit Orlando as well.
Does the opening of Epic shift the patterns of how long people stay in town and vacation with us?
Yes. So the data that I managed so far, I saw that they expect to have like an additional 1 to 1.5 day extra that each visitor will have to or will use in case of visiting Orlando.
How do you think the executives are feeling right now this morning?
I think happy, but also nervous. And nervous is like you created a certain aura around this park. It better be realized. And I think that's.
And we will find out very shortly whether it will. Thanks for joining us here on Florida Live. We appreciate it and hope you join us again live hour.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. It is just after 3 o'clock, and we are standing by for a couple of live events that we will bring you here on our stream ahead of our next live hour of Fox 35 News Plus at 4. First, let me give you a live look at a podium at New York City, where the NTSB getting ready to give an update shortly on the Mexican Navy training ship that hit the Brooklyn Bridge on Saturday. And then also let me show you at the Rose Garden of the White House, where there's going to be a signing ceremony shortly. President Trump will be in attendance and signing into law the Take It Down Act. This is, you see a number of senators and other lawmakers as well. The President Trump will be here. The First Lady will be there, and we expect that to begin shortly as well. So you can keep it here on the Fox Local while we wait on these events to start.
Thank you for coming. We're going to be joined by NTSB board member Michael Graham and investigator in charge Brian Young.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Michael Graham. I'm a board member with the National Transport. Is this not working? Okay. My name is Michael Graham. I'm a board member with the National Transportation Safety Board. Joining me today is our investigator in charge, Brian Young. At approximately 8:25 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Saturday, May 17th, the Mexican Navy tall ship Cuauhtémoc struck the Brooklyn Bridge on the East River, damaging the ship's 3 masts. Local authorities have reported that there were 277 personnel on board. Unfortunately, we had 2 fatalities during the bridge strike. And before I go any further, on behalf of the NTSB, I wish to express my most sincere condolences to the families and loved ones of those who lost their lives in this terrible tragedy. The NTSB arrived on scene late yesterday afternoon and throughout the evening, and our first day on scene was this morning, starting today. We are here to gather perishable evidence, and that's what we will be doing the whole time we will be on scene, and that'll take as many days as it needs to be. This is the start of a long process. We will not be drawing any conclusions. We will not speculate. We will also not be determining the probable cause while we're on scene. The information that I provide today, that we provide today, is preliminary and is subject to change throughout the investigation. What you can expect from us is within 30 days we will have a preliminary report. A normal full investigation, which this is for an accident, our investigations take normally between 12 months to 24 months, with one stipulation. If we see some significant safety issue during the investigative process, we could put out an urgent safety recommendation for that issue. We will be looking into 3 main areas while we're on scene. First being the crew and the operation of the crew, the vessel and the condition of the vessel, and finally the environment, and that includes the weather, the wind, the current, the tide, and the operating environment of that. This morning we had an organizational meeting, and we set up various teams, split up into different teams, and they are currently nautical operations, marine engineering, bridge engineering, survival factors, and recorders. We are currently working with our counterparts with the Mexican government to gain access to the ship. We are optimistic that we will have that access very soon. In the meantime, we are working to set up parties to the investigation. The U.S. Coast Guard is always a party to a marine investigation. They're automatically a party. And we thank them for getting on scene very quickly. And we do appreciate all their support so far in supporting our lead in this investigation. The bridge team from our Office of Highway Safety has been working today with the New York City Department of Transportation, and they were doing a survey with the department there, and they have affirmed at this point that there is no significant structural damage to the load-bearing elements of the bridge. There is some damage on one of the travelers, which they use to access and survey the bridge at this point, but nothing structural from the bridge is an issue at this point. I will point out that the NTSB has long had an interest in bridge safety, including bridge strikes. Just 2 months ago, we released an interim investigative report about the collapse of the Key Bridge in Baltimore after it was struck by the Dolly, in which we made urgent safety recommendations to numerous bridge owners. These included recommendations to calculate the risk of bridge collapse after being struck by a ship, and if that risk is over an industry threshold, to take steps to mitigate the risk. We have received comments back from the New York City Department of Transportation. We just received it. We're in the process of evaluating it, but accordingly they have reported that they have run the assessment and their threshold, their calculation is below the threshold. Sure, you bet. Our recorders group today, they've been canvassing the shoreline along the area where the accident is, trying to assess any closed-circuit TV and security cameras, and they have had some success today. We are very well aware that there's a lot of video out there in social media, people from cell phones and the such, and we would ask if you have video to first email us at witness@ntsb.gov. Again, that's witness@ntsb.gov. And we ask that you email us not the video, but that you have some. We will then send you a link to upload that video. We also have 2 personnel with us from our Office of Transportation Disaster Assistance, and they have been coordinating outreach with the Office of the Mayor of New York City, and we appreciate having them on scene. I will now turn it over to our investigator in charge, Brian Young, to give us some preliminary factual information. Brian?
Thank you. Based on preliminary navigational data, I can provide the following timeline for the vessel's movements in New York. The vessel arrived on May 13th around noon and docked port side 2 at Pier 17. The vessel remained there for about 3 days, and at 8:20 p.m. on May 17th, with the assistance of a tugboat, began backing away from Pier 17. The intent was to sail south down the East River and head for sea. Preliminary weather report at this time was dusk conditions, westerly winds about 10 knots, and the current was about 0.3 knots towards the bridge. Upon departing the pier, the vessel's astern motion and speed increased up to 6 knots. And at 20:24 or 8:24 p.m., a VHF radio broadcast was sounded requesting assistance from other tugboats in the area of the Brooklyn Bridge. That was followed by 2 other requests for assistance, and at 8:24 and 45 seconds, the vessel's mast struck the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge. At 8:27, the vessel came to a stop, and at 8:30, both NYPD and FDNY assets were on scene.
Thank you, Brian. Please follow us on X at NTSB_newsroom. Again, that's at NTSB_newsroom for any additional updates or further briefings. And before we get to questions, I want to thank all the first responders who were on scene, and they were on scene very quickly within 5 minutes of the bridge strike. And I'd also like to thank the ongoing coordination by the New York City Emergency Management. We appreciate all the work that they do and all the first responders. I'm going to take some questions, and before I do, I would ask that you raise your hand, and when I call on you, please state your name and affiliation, and we will do our best to restate the question for everybody in the room. First hand right there.
Hi, Lauren Lasper, WABC TV. In some of the video, we see a tugboat. We don't see it tethered, but this is as it's leaving Pier 17. Can you talk to the role of that tugboat and whether it was helpful or perhaps even harmful in the movements of this small ship?
Thank you. The question regards the status of the tugboat alongside the vessel. As far as we know at this time, the tugboat had assisted the vessel moving off the pier, and part of our investigation will be to look into the tugboat's policies and procedures for the operation once helping the vessel get off the pier, what its guidance would be and what its the job it would have to do.
Right here.
Chris Van from CBS News. 2 questions. Any sense that there's a data recorder, a voice recorder on this ship to obtain? And it sounds like from your timeline, whatever went wrong happened very quickly after that tugboat got it out of off the pier. Is that right?
The first question was about any recording devices on board the vessel, such as a VDR, a voyage data recorder. Our recorders group, once getting aboard the vessel, will make a full assessment of any recording devices, and we will capture that information and retrieve it. And the other question was, it was approximately 5 minutes from the time the vessel started coming astern to the time they struck the bridge. Yes.
So you don't know at this point if there's a recorder?
We don't know at this time, not yet.
Right here. Okay, I read about 3 questions in there. Would you ask the first one again?
Yeah, so the first was, why was the ship towed out of the harbor towards Bay Bridge? Why the decision not to use a towboat?
The question pertains to the use of a tugboat departing the harbor. Again, we are going to be, that's part of our nautical operations investigation, where we look at the procedures on what is the normal operation for a tugboat assist departing a pier and leaving the harbor.
And then as far as what you might be exploring as like potential causes that may have led to the boat to hit the bridge, has there been any sort of discussion over whether this was an engine failure or what might have led to this happening?
The question pertains to a possible cause of the bridge strike, possibly as an engine failure, and we have an engineering group led by myself, which am an engineer, and we will look at the status of the engine. We'll look for any failures, we'll look for engine inspections, and we'll talk to the crew on what may have possibly occurred with the engine, And additionally, if the engine has any sort of ECM or electronic control modules, we'll grab that electronic evidence as well.
We need to go to somebody else. I will also state too, we haven't had a chance to do any interviews at this point. We need to interview the tugboat pilot, the harbor pilot. We'd like to, the captain of the ship, and there's a lot of some other crew members we want to do, but we haven't had that chance. And again, we are not determining a probable cause, and we're not going to speculate about one because we haven't gathered enough information yet. We're just at the beginning of gathering the factual information. There's a question right here.
Hi there, Mark Morales. Good. Two questions. You mentioned for the 6 knots. Is that typical for the boat when it's leaving, or was there some sort of an acceleration? The other question I had was when you talked about the timeline, you said that the boat left at 8:20, and at 8:24, the tugboat was calling for help. When during that 4-minute period was it determined that the boat was out of control? I guess what I'm asking, when was the earliest is that the earliest time that the tugboat could call for help? It seems like that was only seconds before it struck the Brooklyn Bridge, which would have been too late.
Okay. Go ahead. State the first question again.
The 6 knots. Was that typical of this kind of a thing, or was there some sort of another acceleration? Like, was that standard notated even at that time?
The question regards the speed of the vessel at the time it made contact with the bridge, and it was at 6 knots. We are going to be accessing all the different electronic data to determine at what point the vessel began accelerating. We do have a bit of time where it was maintaining a constant speed of about 2.3 knots, and then the speed began to increase. And that's something we will be looking into as part of our engineering assessment of the operation of the engine.
And what time did it start to increase?
I'll have to check the data, but we have certain data points that we would be able to look at.
And about the request for help? Like when
And the request for help, we had one bit of navigational data that we were looking into. It was the VHF radio. There may have been phone calls. There may have been a cell phone call that we haven't yet discovered. But the first bit of evidence that we have that any VHF conversation was had was at 8:45. I'm sorry, I said 20, 24, and 45 seconds.
In the back.
I'm sorry if you addressed this. Mia Clark from New York. I'm sorry if you addressed this already. It's hard to clear back here. The NYPD put out a preliminary report saying that there was a power failure of some sort of mechanical issue. I understand you're not drawing conclusions now. Do you have any idea where the NYPD may have gotten that information from?
Okay, the question's about the NYPD basically putting out preliminary information about maybe a power outage to the engine or something like that. We don't know where they got that data from. We have, like Brian has told us already, we haven't even had chance to access the engine. So we don't know that. We haven't had a chance to look to see if there's any recorded data or anything like that. So we're not sure where they got that from. But that'll be part of the investigation too. If somebody has information like that, where did they get it from? We don't know at this point. Okay, I'm gonna come back over. Back in the back. A little louder, please. I know the air conditioning is really loud.
Do you have any information on the ship departed early before the collision?
I'm sorry, say it again.
So, do you have any information that the ship departed early, that it was supposed because the collision, the weather conditions?
Ship, okay. The question is, do we have any information that the ship departed early because of the weather coming in? We have no information on that at all. We haven't had a chance to talk to any of the crew at this point. Okay.
Why is that?
We are waiting. The question is, why haven't we had a chance to talk to the crew yet? We are working with our counterparts to the ship and hopefully with some of the crew members to be able to interview them. Not unlike the harbor pilot, the docking pilot, we're going to interview them here in the near future. Question?
Have you gotten any response
The question is, have we spoken with the Mexican government and all? We have our officials, our counterparts on the other side. Our general counsel is working with them at this time. We're also working with the vessel agent, and we are very well aware that there's also other crews that the city would like to move the ship to a salvage yard very soon, and there's going to access that needs to be done so that they can actually assess the hull integrity from inside the ship, hopefully also. Another question right here.
Sir, I have two questions for you. First, where exactly is the crew now and where is the ship now? And then secondly, in previous bridge strikes, what have been the spectrum of causes? Can you just take us through that?
Okay, you want to?
The first question was where are the crew and the ship at this time? They are docked on the east side of Manhattan, and the intent is once it is deemed that the vessel is structurally sound, they will tow it to a repair facility.
And they're on the ship living there?
Yes, the crew is living on the ship right now.
And then the second question about the spectrum of possible causes of previous bridge strikes in the U.S.
Give me the whole question again.
Sure. Can you just take us through the spectrum of past bridge strike causes?
Okay, he's asking a question about the whole spectrum of previous bridge strikes and causes. There are multiple bridge strikes out there, and it depends on the size of the ship in many cases. The vast majority of them, looking at the statistics, have been barges. I think a lot of them are mainly on our inland rivers. We've had numerous recommendations out there over the years. The most current one we have was from the Dolly in Baltimore, and you saw the results of that bridge strike. It was catastrophic, so that's why we put out an urgent safety rec just here recently for bridge owners to take a very close look at their risk assessment of their vulnerability of a bridge being brought down by a boat strike or a ship strike. Okay. One more question, right here. Okay, the question is about the number of crew, initially the first question, and how many of them left the ship. It has been reported that the city of New York helped approximately 179 cadets leave the country last night to go back to Mexico. And it has been reported also by the city that there are, I believe it's 94 crew members on board working. The other part of the question was about people working up in the mast earlier today. Yes, I was on scene myself on the dock. We did see some crews up there. I don't want to speculate what they're doing, but I know there is concern by everybody, especially those that are going to help move the ship to a shipyard, that we need to secure the mast up there, since some of it is broken off and it's entangled in the lines. So those are obviously going to have to be secured before the ship is moved, so that doesn't create another hazard. Okay? Thank you very much.
Honey, you know, a lot of the Democrats and Republicans don't get along so well. You've made them get along, and she didn't even know about that. She didn't know we had a problem. She didn't know we had a problem. She got a. But I want to thank you, honey. You've done amazing that this was done when you started, and I said, I don't know, it sounds like a tough one, and yet a very important one, and you got it done. So I congratulate you, and I congratulate Ted, Maria, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, and we'll sign the bill. Thank you. Come on around. That's beautiful. Come on around. Hey, look at that. Thank you. I told you we were getting the bill. Thank you. You did it. Got it. Fantastic. Okay, you ready? Okay, honey, are you signing something? You want to sign it in? Come on, sign it anyway. She deserves to sign it. Okay, there we have it. There we are. That's a big one. Thank you very much, everyone. And you have some pens here. You most importantly, right? Grab one of them. Oh, look at these white pens. I've never seen that before. I want one of them. I've never seen it. Here, Pamela, take that. Take that. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
Just
you.
grab
Thank you
it.
so much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. You go ahead.
Mr. President, let me introduce you to Brandon, who lost his son, Gavin.
Let me get up.
He's a state legislator in South Carolina. He's been incredibly brave, and his whole family. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Coming up in just a little bit, we're also going to track the latest about this 81-year-old in Polk